I was born very close to my mother, but that didn't last for very long, because when I came out, true story, I was 10 pounds, 3 ounces. My mother's 4'11". So when I came out, she said to the doctor, "Don't you slap him. I'd like to slap him myself, please." When I came out with a 5 o'clock shadow. I already had my driver's license. But I was looking through the scriptures and I thought, what do moms really want? And in the book of 3 John, chapter 1 and verse 4, and it's on the back side of your notes if you would take them out, we're going to read this scripture together. The heart of a mom, especially today in this topsy-turvy world where information is suspect at best. And so we have to think, well, where do we want our kids to get their information from primarily? And what is our heart? And here it is. Would you read this together? This is a scripture on the back of your notes. And it doesn't say Mother's Day. It says this. Let's read it together. Go. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth. What is that? I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth. If anything, that's our desire, that's our goal, and that's especially the heart of a mom. But I don't want to tell you that. Let's let these moms tell you a little bit more about it. Let's take a look at this.
Seeing my children serve in the ministry and serving Jesus with all their hearts, there is no greater joy than that.
Oh, makes my mom heart so happy. I love that it instills in them a sense of commitment and service, and that church is not just a place to come to be served, but also to serve others.
It's watching our children and our kids be excited, grandkids be excited to come to church, and can't wait to get into class and sing in the choir. And there's just, I can't even describe how that makes my heart just leap for joy.
For me, watching my kids serve, sorry, I'm gonna cry. I didn't grow up in the church like how they're having the opportunity to. And so seeing them be able to encounter the Lord and have a church that's so gracious to let them grow in such a safe environment and lead and trust them with some responsibility, but most of all, ushering them to a relationship with Jesus just means the world to me.
It's the heart. You can see their heart for giving. Like, they want to be there, they want to learn. It's just exciting to watch.
I mean, honestly, I'm tearing up even now just thinking about it, because that's been my prayer from the time you have a child and you bring a child into the world. You want them to serve Jesus. You want them to have that relationship with the Lord. And then to watch them use their giftings in that capacity is just a blessing and fills me up.
Watching them be able to move and find their passions, this church has been awesome.
I love Peter and Colette and their children. I just enjoy them so much, and they just become like one of my family, my children, so I just love them.
Seeing my children serving in ministry, it just makes me so proud of them, because when I was their age, I also served in ministry. So I'm seeing this come full circle, and it just makes me so proud of them.
It's a privilege seeing those kids and their parents' example. I think that's one of the greatest things that we can give, and we just keep passing that down. I just love it, and I'm very thankful for that.
As a mom, I couldn't be happier. That's what I want, is my kids to love the Lord, to want to be a part of a church, and to want to be a part of a service that's helping other people. And I feel like we've gotten that here, and it's made a huge difference.
We've got some of the best moms in the world. Would you say thanks to these great ladies? We learn a lot of things in the world. We learn from college and schools and grade schools, but I think I learned the most from my mother. Even in the way that she said things that would be somewhat tongue-in-cheek, and it's almost the opposite. I remember growing up, and my mom would get mad at me, and she would teach me things like logic. She would look at me and say, "You keep crying, I'll give you something to cry about. If you don't quit crying, I'll give you something to cry about." So I thought, okay, all right. And then she taught me things about the miraculous. You cut your legs off in that lawnmower, don't you come running to me. Okay, Mom, all right, I'll try my best. And then she taught me a lot about osmosis. We'd be eating, and my brother and I would be arguing, and she'd look at us and say, you shut your mouths and eat your food. I'll do my best. And she would teach me about time travel. She'd say to me, if you don't straighten up, I'm going to knock you into next week. Okay. And she would teach me how to be a contortionist. She'd be washing me up in the tub, and she'd say, well, look at the dirt on the back of your neck. It's filthy. Mom, my neck's on the back of my head, and I can't look at it. But I think my favorite one, she taught me about the circle of life. She looked at me one day and she said, I brought you into this world, I can take you out. We owe a lot to our mothers. I think Mother's Day is an annual celebration, or more than that, a reminder of how much of a debt we owe to the woman who risked her life to bring us into this world. And as I said, some of us, for us, it's a little tough because moms have passed away and we remember them. But there's also the sisters and the moms among us that we want to honor. And remember, in honoring them, we honor God. I think about moms. You know, we were their chief occupation. You think about it. She carried us before we could walk. She fed us when we couldn't feed ourselves. She communicated with us before we could even speak. She held us in the middle of the night and kissed away our fears, our tears, our worries. And we learned to form words by watching her lips as she expressed her love to us. You know, I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about all the ways God appeared to mankind in the Old Testament. I thought, you know, God, you appeared in a burning bush. And then you appeared as an angel with a flaming sword. And then you appeared as a great and mighty rushing wind. And then you appeared as a pillar of fire by night and a cloud by day. But when God came to earth in the form of a young baby, when the Messiah came, God did not appear. Did you notice that? For some reason, he chose a mother. A mother who would carry him before he was able to walk. Feed him when he was not able to feed himself. Communicated with him before he could even speak. She held him in the middle of the night, kissed away his tears and his fears. He learned to form words by watching her lips as she expressed her love. God chose a mother. Interesting. Jimmy Dean, who's known more now for his sausage than his singing, actually was a great country singer. And one of the songs I still remember is he found in his wallet some IOUs to his mom. And he read through them and wrote a poetic song in which he enumerated those IOUs to his mother. And I thought I'd read just in part some of those lyrics. It goes like this. Sweet lady, he'd sing, I owe you for so many things. Like being night watchman, for instance, lying awake at nights, listening for coughs and cries. And I owe you for food services, like being a short order cook and a chef, a baker, and making sirloin out of hamburger, and big old strapping boys out of leftovers. And for drying the tears of childhood and ironing out the problems of growing up. And I owe you for medical attention, nursing me through the measles and mumps and the bruises, and for veterinarian services, for feeding every lost dog that I dragged home at the end of a rope, and for healing the pains of puppy love. I owe you for construction work, for building kites and confidence, for building hopes and dreams, and somehow you made them all touch the sky. And for cementing together a family so that it would stand the shocks and the blows of life. and for laying for me a strong foundation that I could build my family upon. The person that I owe all this to, well, she worked very hard for very cheap. She managed by simply doing without a whole lot of things that she needed for herself. And my IOUs add up to more than I could ever hope to repay. But you know the nicest thing about it all is knowing that she had marked the entire bill paid in full for just one little kiss and 4 little words, Mom, I love you. You know, the Bible teaches that when you cannot return or repay a debt, there is yet something you can do. And we're going to read it together as it comes up on the board. So would you clear your voices and read it out nice and loud with me? Would you read it? Go. Owe no one anything except to love one another, for the one who loves fulfills you would actually fulfill the law of debt and the inability to repay that debt if we understand love. You can repay it with love. So today, even though we cannot pay the debts to our moms for what they have done for us, there is a way that the Bible says still remains, and that is love. So today I want to give you in just a few short moments, because I'm only going to spend a couple minutes on each, 4 ways to return love. And here's the first. 4 ways to love your mom. Number 1 is love her verbally. Love her verbally. Now, I know many of us husbands, we don't do that good enough. And moms and wives, I have to say this, there just are no perfect husbands, because my wife married the last one that was available, so. But love her verbally. I mean, tell her, I love you. Men, you got to practice it in the mirror. You know, I love you. It's pretty hard, I know. But practice it till you get it down. I remember the musical Fiddler on the Roof. How many of you have heard of that musical? Tevye is the husband, and Golda is the wife. And Golda says to Tevye, a Jewish husband, and she says, Tevye, do you love me? And Tevye looks at her and says, I told you that I loved you when I married you, and if I change my mind, I'll let you know. We can't do that. Tell her that you love her. Speak that out. I tell my pastors that I work with, I say the best thing I can do for my children is to love their mother, because then they'll see that and they'll learn how to do the same with their wives. The first is love her verbally, but the second has to go beyond that. John 3:18 says, let us love one another, not only in speech and in word, but in action and in truth. Number 2, love her physically. I mean, when was the last time you gave her a hug when she didn't even ask for it? Or you snuck in a kiss before she turned and slapped you? You have to remember, you have to love her physically, because think of it this way. Your mother was the very first person to touch you. She wrapped you in her womb for 9 months, changed your diapers, held the Kleenex to your nose so that you could blow it, potty trained you. I mean, nobody else would do that, let me tell you. I remember when my wife was potty training my daughter, Amy. I mean, I heard them in the bathroom, and my wife started screaming, honey, come in here, quick, quick. And I thought someone was dying. I ran in there. She said, Amy did number 2 in the toilet. I mean, you got her so excited. She had me bring the camera. Let's take pictures. We gave each other Hawaiian lays, had cake and ice cream. It was interesting. A little sick, but love her physically. And then number 3, love her patiently. Love her patiently, especially when moms get older and they become grandmas. Love her patiently. Let's read what Ephesians says. Would you read it? It's behind me. Go. Be kind to each other, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, just as God has forgiven you, because you belong to Christ. You have to remember that, I have to remember this again and again, that Anna belongs to Jesus first. And one day when she stands before God, he's going to check out his property to make sure that I'd been stewarding her correctly. We belong to Christ, not each other. We're not each other's property. We belong to Christ. And especially when things start to break down a little in the years to come, love her patiently. You see, mothers have an incredible job with no pay. No position in any corporate world would ever expect to demand a lifetime of commitment that's emotional and physical and spiritual as motherhood. And here's the point. After all she's done, we often get impatient with her. I mean, we get so used to her taking care of things that we become sort of entitled and outraged when she doesn't take care of them. I mean, you haven't done the dishes yet? You haven't washed my clothes? You didn't iron my shirts? You didn't do my socks? You didn't make the bed that I messed up? What is going on? And we become impatient. James Dobson, who used to be with Focus on the Family, shares a letter from a mother that turned 80 years old, and on her birthday, she writes what she really wants, because by that time and at that age, you don't need more trinkets and more stuff. And so she writes this: to all my dear children, I suppose my 80th birthday started my thoughts along these lines. And this is a good time to tell you, I guess, what I truly want. And these things I can never get enough of. And they're all free. Here's the first. I'd really like for you to come over and just sit with me for a while and be relaxed and unhurried. And secondly, I need your patience when I don't hear what you say the first time. I know it can be tiresome to always be repeating. I'm so sorry for that, but I need your patience. And even when I think too much about the past, please be tolerant with what the years have done to me physically. I spill things, I lose my keys, I can't remember where I put stuff, and I know I take too many naps, and well, sometimes sleep just helps me to pass the day. Well, there you have it. Those are priceless gifts that I'd really like to have on my birthday. It's a wonderful, wonderful feeling when the scripture says, his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he cares for me. So in closing, she writes, could you remind me every once in a while how much he cares for me? Because even I forget. Love her patiently. And then the fourth love, to a woman that we have too many IOUs that we cannot repay, but yet we can repay with love. So you love her. You love her verbally. You love her physically. You love her patiently. And lastly, love her honorably. Love her honorably. The Bible has, in the book of Exodus, the 10 Commandments. And there's one of the 10, the only one that has a promise attached to it. And it says this, and would you read it with me? Go. Honor your mother and father, so that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God has given to you. Honor your mother and father, so that your days may be long. I mean, there's a promise, there's a benefit, there's a reward. If you will honor her, then there's a promise that's attached to it. And don't violate that. Because I'm thinking, if you honor your mother and your life will be long and good, then the opposite would be true. If you don't honor her, it's going to be bad. You will be in deep kimchi. And God will see to it. I remember a story about a man who was always kind of mean to his wife, never honored her. But then he got sicker and sicker and sicker. This went over years. She seemed to be very, very, very patient. And finally, he's like he's going to die. So she drove him, because he couldn't even drive himself, to the doctor. And after a battery of tests, the doctor said, would you take your husband out to the car and come back in? I need to talk to you alone. So she kind of helped him limp over, because he was listless, no energy, very pale. So he sat on the passenger side. She went back in. The doctor said, your husband's dying of something called a loss of affection. She said, what? A loss of affection. It's a lack of affection syndrome. So she said, what do you mean? He said, well, you're just going to have to pour affection on him and tell him he's nice, tell him he's kind. She said, what if he has never been that way? Doctor said, well, just tell him anyway. And then when he comes home, put slippers on his feet, give him a glass of cold orange juice, massage his shoulders, say little sweet nothings in his ear. Well, he went on. And then she finally leaves his office, and she sits back in the seat, the driver's seat, closes the door, and the husband waits for a bit, and he says, well, what did the doctor say? She looked at her husband and said, the doctor said, you're going to die. Don't mess with moms. Don't mess with moms. Love her honorably, because it's a commandment with a promise. I think about how God made mothers. It's got to be amazing. So I want to end with a parable. It's a story, but I think it has a good point to it. Parable of God and mothers. When the good Lord created mothers, he must have been into overtime, because he'd been working so hard on the species called mothers. It's then when an angel appeared and said, God, you're doing a lot of fiddling with this one, aren't you? And the Lord replied, have you seen the specs on this order? I mean, she has to be completely washable, unbreakable but not plastic, and she has to have hundreds and hundreds of moving parts all at the same time. All replaceable, by the way, when they get broken, and they will. She has to run on coffee and leftovers. And she has to have a kiss that can cure anything from a scraped knee to a broken leg, and even fix a broken heart. And she's got to have 6 pairs of hands, at least. The angel chimed in, 6 pairs of hands? No way. Oh, said the Lord, it's not the hands that's causing me problems. It's the 3 pairs of eyes a mother has to have. 3 pairs of eyes, the angel said. Yeah. 1 pair that sees right through doors when she asks, what are you kids doing in there, when she already knows. Another pair in the back of her head that sees what others cannot see. And of course, another pair that's right in front that looks at a child when he goofs up and says, honey, I understand, but mommy still loves you. But I'm getting close to finishing her, the Lord said. It's getting close. She has to be my most amazing creation yet. I already have in this creation one who heals herself when she's sick, and she keeps on going. She can feed a family of 6 on 1 pound of hamburger and get a 2-year-old to stand still under a shower. And even though she knows the truth, she is unendingly forgiving. She is strong, but she's also soft. She will keep going even though she is weary. She's experienced all the pains, but remembers only the joys. This will be the crown jewel of my creation. The Lord said that almost boastingly. Finally, the angel bent over for a closer look, ran her finger across the cheek of the mother, and said, uh-oh, there's a leak. What? Yep, I told you you were trying to put too much in this model. It's starting to leak. That's not a leak, said the Lord. It's a tear. "What's that for?" asked the angel. Tear? The tear is for joy. It's for sadness. It's for disappointment. It's for pain. It's for loneliness. It's for when she's proud of somebody. Why, the angel said, "You are a genius. God, you even put in tears." With a somber look on his face, the Lord said, "No, I didn't put that there." The angel said, "Then who did?" "She must have put it in there herself," the Lord said. "These only come from deep within. And it happens when a mother truly becomes a mother." To all our ladies, but especially our mothers, happy Mother's Day. You are the crown jewel of God's creation. God bless you.